What are the challenges, if I'm honest? First, security, but we are able to deal with it. So I would say we are accustomed in the Niger Delta to deal with it. So of course, it requires some specific things because for a CEO like me, of course, security of my people is of primary importance, you know, so I have to, that's almost, but I would say that's the point. There are countries which perfectly have integrate that. Angola, I will go to Angola and announce a very large project, $6 billion, beginning of the week, because there the framework is stable.
We know where we go to. And he went on to mention other African countries that have offered stability to them. He mentioned Mozambique, he mentioned Uganda. That is the Chief Executive Officer of the Total Energies, Patrick Puyon, is explaining why the company dumped Nigeria and invested a whopping $6 billion in energy projects in Angola. $6 billion has just left the shore of this country because of our instability and the government policies. He mentioned several factors that were responsible for them not to invest their 6 billion naira in Nigeria, like the insecurity, the administrative bureaucracy, the inconsistent policies making. He said Nigeria loves to open debate without conclusion. We talk too much with no direction. He said there is always a new legislature in Nigeria about a new petroleum law. He said such debates make it difficult for investors looking for long-term structure to know what direction to go to. According to him, investors need the guarantee that their investments are secured and not exposed to violence and demolition. Take a note of the word demolition he mentioned. Once again, let's say congratulations to the Lagos state government for making the world see Nigeria as a country that demolishes people's properties and business.
You love to open topics without closing them. So you know when in Nigeria, for example, we have been, since I am in the business, there is always a new legislation in Nigeria about a new petroleum law. So when you have so in France we are accustomed, but we don't have oil and gas. In Nigeria, you know, when you have a permanent debate and it's difficult for investors who look for the long term to know where we go. And in fact, it has been bad, to be honest, because reality, unfortunately, I think that Niger Delta is the most prolific part of West Africa. But when you look what happened, because of this debate, there was not a single exploration well in Nigeria for 12 years. Last project we've done it was Egina in 2014. So it's time now, sometimes it's good to have debate, but then to settle the debate and then to put a framework on the table so that the investor can trust.
You need to understand that we are in a very competitive market in Africa. Nigeria is not the only country with natural resources in Africa. Investors want a stable environment where they can thrive. No one wants to come and invest his money in a place that will demolish his business. There are other African countries with conducive environment without insecurity that are willing to attract investors. They are more serious about attracting foreign investment and they are doing the right thing. Imagine him saying that Angola has a better working environment that attracts foreign investment more than Nigeria. That is a huge slap on the faces of every Nigerian. It all shows that the people managing the affairs of this country are not competent. From the legislature to the executive and even to the judiciary, they've all failed this country. Now, one of the things he mentioned is insecurity. Security is a responsibility of the executive. For decades now, we have been battling to combat the menace of Boko Haram, which has spread to kidnapping, banditry, and other criminal activities in the northeast. Conglomerates need a secure environment to thrive. They need their businesses and workers secured. They can't be paying taxes to the government and also be paying ransom to kidnappers. There are other African countries with stable and secure environment that they will prefer to go and invest in because it is the same oil we are talking about. It's just like people competing in the market. One has a better product, has a better service, a better warranty. That person will obviously attract more customers compared to people that offer less. This is a competitive market and this is how the product and the service world work. We know the insecurity in Nigeria and the Niger Delta where the oil is being exploited do not start today. So we can't solely blame it on Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but it's a cumulative effect from the Niger Delta crisis, same way we have cumulative effect of the Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast that has resulted to other criminal activities in that region. The Niger Delta militants make the region insecure by constant blowing up of oil pipelines, kidnapping until the government decided to grant them amnesty and handed the contract of protecting oil facilities to some of them, example Tompolo. But that has not stopped the oil theft going on in that region. It's still going on to date. And this has forced many companies to stop drilling oil onshore. The few that are operating offshore. This is why Nigeria's daily crude oil production has dropped by 50%. Unfortunately, successive governments have not done enough to stop the oil theft because oil production is Nigeria's major source of income and foreign exchange. You can see that the government is not even interested in securing their revenue. They've allowed non-state actors to keep on stealing the revenue without stopping them.
The biggest challenge that we have as entrepreneurs in Africa is the inconsistencies in policies. One now you say, okay, yes, today we are going to drive left hand, or you say, okay, fine. Goalpost is here, just in front of you. When you are about to score the goal, then the government will remind you, no, the goalpost has been changed to behind you. So, so these are the main issues that are actually, they can bankrupt anybody. So I think we need to really look at it that, look, our own political leaders, what you need to understand is that it's a win-win. It's like what they say, you cannot clap with one hand, you clap with two hands. Now, I was telling somebody was talking about, you people are making too much money in cement, blah, blah, blah. Then later on, I reminded the person that, look, go and check our figures. For every 1 naira that I turn around, government collects 52%. So
on every single naira?
On every single naira we turn around, 52% goes to the government.
Even our own Dangote, the richest man in Nigeria, agrees with the Total Energy CEO on the inconsistency policy of the government because he is facing the same issues in Nigeria. He said government policies can bankrupt any business. That's absolute truth. The exchange rate alone, the devaluation of the naira can bankrupt any organization. Government is a serious business. It's meant to be a service to humanity. But in Nigeria, it is a service to themselves. The reason why we have corrupt people in power is because they are attracted to the juices in the office and the money they can steal. So it's not surprising that they cannot do the right thing by creating an enabling environment for businesses to strive. It is because they are not interested in that. They are only interested in stealing the natural resources of the country. That is why it is exercise in futility for the government to keep going around the world begging investors to come and invest. According to Peter Obi, investors are like bees. They are attracted to honey. Do the right thing and the investors will come. Tinubu should stop wasting public funds traveling all over the world to attract investors. He should use the money and put up an enabling environment that will attract investors. How many foreign investors did Buhari attract to the country after wasting public funds for 8 years traveling all over the world? It's such a shame that a successive government cannot improve Nigeria's daily oil production. That is why Dangote is buying crude oil from the United States. Are you surprised? Of course, we cannot meet our daily quota. This is because the government has used some of our quota to collect loans from financial institutions. We don't know how long this will take for these loans to be paid. Well, Dangote has promised that his refinery will be able to match Nigeria's daily consumption in few weeks, meaning there will be no need to import more petroleum.
There is quite of, in fact, we just commissioned in February. We've started now, we're producing jet fuel, we're producing, gasoline, diesel. By next month, we'll be producing gasoline. But what that will do is that it will be able to take most of the African crudes that are being produced and also be able to supply not only Nigeria. Our capacity is too big for Nigeria, but it will be able to supply in West Africa, Central Africa, and also South Africa. We have 650,000 metric tons of, 650,000 barrels per day. We have 1 million tons of polypropylene. We have 590,000 carbon black, raw materials for, making ink, dyes, and co. And then we are expanding more. This is the first phase. We're actually going now to the next phase, which will start early next year.